Hey, Clavette here. Welcome back to Clavette's Corner, where I welcome you into my studio to take a look at the behind the scenes work that goes into writing my records. So last week we were looking at bass lines and kick drums for my new single, What I Need. This week it's all about melody and harmony. So without further ado, let's jump into Ableton and I'll show you how it was done.
All right, welcome back once again. We're inside Ableton once again. We've got What I Need once again. But this time, we're going to look at the keys and the synths. And it's really centered around this piano loop. So here's the original loop. Super jazzy, very like low end and warm. And I just kind of, you can probably hear the sections I took. I just kind of looped the. So that's only one part of it. So that's just the chop. So what I want to do real quick is show you an earlier version of this. Now, as I've mentioned a few times, I do a lot of sound designing. There's a lot of plugins on this one, as you can see. There's a point during my writing process where I bounce everything to stems. I clean up the project, essentially. There's not so many plugins going on. I have a fresh new project, which I can then mix from. So we've got Decapitator. Really driving it. So it's doing a lot of the work there. So you can hear that it's cutting out a lot of lows, it's cutting out some highs, and it's really driving the sound. Then I've got some EQ that's also taking out a lot of the low end. Phase Mistress is where all of this is coming from. So if I take this off, if you're looking to get a really cool swirling kind of Daft Punk sound, and you have this plugin, what I've noticed is that if you push the input really hard and drive the sound, it creates much more harmonic interest. Now, why is it doing this? Well, I mean, in one respect, it's saturating it. So we're driving it to the point that it's overdriving. So it's creating more harmonic content, which then feeds the phaser. So I just kind of played around with the mix and the frequency, the resonance and the modulation, until I really liked what I had. And that's where most of that swirling sound comes from. Then after that, I'm hitting it with the flatline preset, which is really just kind of getting rid of any like hard peaks. I've got Ozone Exciter in here. Which is kind of reforming the sound a little bit, adding a little more top end and sheen. SSL EQ, taking out a little more and adding a little bit of 5K and above. More crazy EQ. I've got an imager, making this really wide. Here. And then I've got OTT on here. A little bit of redux that comes in at points too. Once I was happy with the sound itself, I bounced it down to stems, and then it's really just a little more EQ. Again, the phaser causes a lot of issues, and I think for some reason I just wasn't using Soothe yet when I made this track, so it's not in here. This probably would have saved me a lot of time. What else do we have? We've got the reverse pianos that kind of let's suck into the next sections. We've got a guitar. A little bit of EQ. CLA guitars. And then I've got this phaser synth. This is... So this is really cool. This was another element that was heavily sound designed. So let me show you what that sounds like. And I want to show you what this sounds like without all of the plugins. Baby, 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 baby. So that's a vocal. And then through kind of the processing on here, first and foremost, RC20. And that's driving the sound, right? We've got Phase Mistress doing something very similar. So that's where most of the sound's coming from, is the phaser and the drive. I've got Flatline on here again, just controlling peaks. I've got LFO Tool on here doing some really odd pumping, just making room. We've got Pro Q3 doing some very odd, just really controlling this resonant area right here in the 3K region. And then I've got CLA 3A just really compressing this hard. That's why I really like that sound, because it's just super fun to be able to sound design like that. So that's everything. So this is kind of what it sounds together. We're really close to an entire track. And that's most of the track. On the bus for this is, again, just purple audio, just controlling the peaks of these tracks a little bit, just keeping everything in check, nothing getting too pointy. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you picked up some tricks. Come back next week where we'll wrap up what I need. We'll finish it off with the vocals, the effects. So until then, cheers, and I'll catch you next week, guys.